Hello everyone. This is 360 Talk podcast. Here I am Shahnaaz again with you with another guest. Let me introduce you our guest. Charudatta Pande is world's first digital mindset coach. He had multiple CXO roles. He worked with IBM, SAP and the Dassault systems. Charudatta has delivered 50 plus business transformation projects. He has conducted management audit for MNCs and he has published 4 books, articles on sap.com, podcasts and magazines. Charudatta conducted sessions for more than 2,500 companies. He is a mentor, advisory, board member. He is also certified international coach and executive coach. So let's welcome with a warm heart and let's discuss a lot of things which our audience will get benefited out of it. Thank you for being with us today.
It's an absolute privilege to be here. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. So let's start with this amazing thing. So how you became the world's first digital mindset coach and how it works. This is just as a personal question. I want to know that how it works.
This is, to be very honest, my own journey. I became a mechanical engineer by choice. Worked in core manufacturing industry for about 8 years. Before I moved to corporates, I worked with IBM, then Dassault, and finally SAP. And when I was part of SAP, I realized that companies need to get the real value out of their system by putting that in the right way. And I stepped out and I started on my own. I worked with multiple companies, including the largest companies in India. Okay. And then subsequently, the COVID came. When the COVID came, everybody got worried about how things have to happen. And I helped companies on looking at their working capital, how things have to move. One thing that I realized at that moment is that the whole world now needs to start moving towards technology. And I promoted that thing for a fairly period of time. Then I started my IT company, delivered it to delivered solutions to multiple companies. And finally, when I sold that particular company and I was looking at the next thing that I need to do, I realized that the primary need in the market today is to help those entrepreneurs understand what is the real power of technology that they need to use. Because many people implement systems, but they are not able to get the right value out of those systems. So the primary challenge in these cases is that the promoter implements a system, but wants the reporting to be done manually in a particular way. So people are not really not serious about entering data into system as long as the same system is not being referred by the management as well. So entrepreneurs have a very different way of looking at the data and looking at the system. Then I realized it's important for them to change that attitude and start leveraging the power that systems can use. And the change has to begin at the top. And the promoter's mindset needs to change before everybody else in the organization can change. And that's how I became a digital mindset coach. Started working with the business owners on how they can leverage the power of different tools, particularly AI currently as well. And once that thing started happening, then we looked at multiple business owners who came with various reservations in terms of technology part, some fraud. They hear so many things happening across different parts, right? So I was able to help them overcome those all mental blocks, and that led to some amazing results.
Okay. So how you and corporate coaches differentiate? What is the idea behind both and how you differentiate from them?
That's a very difficult question to answer because in certain cases the lines are very thin. Okay, what my approach to when I engage with any one particular business owner is to understand his own part. So let me share with you a very specific framework that I use. I use a framework called DIGIT. I help that entrepreneur define what are their processes, then identifying what are the top challenges that they are facing, generate ideas to solve those challenges, then implement only the systems that are going to transform their business. So my idea is to start from their process to their challenges to implement very specific systems through specific partners for them to transform their business. So unless there is a transformation that is happening in the business, I would not recommend them on implementing a system. So my focus primarily is more towards those systems and processes that they need to cover for them to transform their business. There are a lot of other coaches who focus on various aspects. My focus primarily is on this particular space. In certain cases, this conversation also lead to what are their next goals and how they need to look at it. So when we plan a system, we don't really plan it for the immediate future. We plan it what they would need about say 3 years down the line. So that we are creating that platform now. So in those cases, we do get into those conversations, but eventually the discussions come down to the systems.
Okay. Okay. So you just don't only provide the advice and let them focus and do on it. So you figure it out what is the issues happening over there and implement it as well for them.
Absolutely. Implementation is the key. Whenever there is a promoter who accepts the fact that he needs or he or she needs to change and they make that particular change, the change needs to be cascaded down the entire organization because people are used to working with the individual in a particular way. So unless you implement that system and get it properly adopted across the organizations, the result are not there. So what we do is that we start working with them on first the system, the implementing of the system. We get all the key members involved in that implementation process. We find out the right partner, get this implementation, and after the implementation, we track it for at least 6 months to see how things are happening. Quite a few times, when the results start getting into 6 months, then people tend to extend that to a few more months, and then we have the next level of changes happening after that. So it's a gradual process that happens towards the ultimate goal, but we do monitor the process completely.
Okay. So the big chains or distribution. So as a common perspective, I'm just asking because if they are capable of doing multiple chains, grow them and things and all, so is it still possible to miss this important areas and make a loss out of it? So as per your experience, so you have seen something like huge things happening over there.
I'll share one very specific example. This is in the FMCG space only. One of the largest company in India in FMCG space, primarily known for the perfumes and all, had a very common model which is used wherein they own the brand and the manufacturing happens through multiple contract manufacturers. So there were 9 contract manufacturers who were working with them, and every second year one of the contract manufacturer would run into some problem. They would have a supply chain issue, then they would go to the next, and this cycle was happening. Then we looked at what exactly was going wrong. We assessed all the different contract manufacturers on various parameters, looked at what was going right, and what we realized is the primary challenge was in the forecast itself which was given to the vendors.
Okay.
So if you, to be very precise, the variation was to the tune of about 30%. So they used to give all the contract manufacturers a 3-month rolling forecast. So compared to what I'm committing now to the actual my pickup on one particular month, there used to be a 30% variation. And this variation ensured that there was a lot of stock which was getting piled across the supply chain. So over a period of time, the contract manufacturers would get disheartened. They would stop the supply or they would go out of the business. So in some places, they were losing the opportunity to sell. In some places, they had a lot of excess stock which had to be sold at discounted prices to be cleared.
Okay.
So this is where it's very important that, and this company was almost about 30 years old. So it was not a new one. Things are changing very dynamically today. The choice is different. The youngsters have a very different way. So one of the things that we talk about is failing fast. And if you want to fail fast, then the best way for you to is get the right data. Only when you have the right set of data, you can make a right judgment on whether it's okay to fall at that particular point in time or it's changing. The other perspective that is required, and particularly when I look at this market and how I see things in this the entire region, is for conventionally we had a lot of seniors who somewhere we felt that had the pulse of the market. I think COVID has ensured that that particular pulse of the market is changing very rapidly. So this is the phase for us to have an actual data-based decision compared to intuition-based decision. The other part is that a lot of these seniors are now exiting the business, they are into retirement mode, and the youngsters come with a very different mindset. So if you want to get the right set of talent to work with you, you need to have the systems for that talent to come to you. That people who worked with the companies for 30-35 years and retired, that thing is going to be very difficult now. So this is the time wherein you need to start being more dependent on the system compared to that dependence on individuals.
Okay. So this means that people think that this is a very minor thing to like neglect and go, but this might be the biggest factor why the losses are coming up in further going if they neglect this, correct?
Absolutely. Let me share another example with you. This is one of the manufacturing company which is into pharma primary supplier. So which is a good space, supposed to have good margins. But every business naturally has its own ups and downs. So during the 2008-9 downturn, these people sourced some business from one of the largest African countries, and that particular lot used to constitute about 12% of their entire production. Okay, the client was an absolutely great paymaster. They would send the documents, immediately the payment would come. And so because they were giving the right set of payment within time, they used to supply all the material to them on time. So when we did the assessment for this client on their entire costing, and we looked at their own data, what we realized is this the export was happening at a 5% price lesser compared to how they were selling in domestic market.
Okay.
Usually the prices for export are supposed to be higher because there are a lot of compliance issues and you are supposed to get some margins when you are exporting, right? But because they picked up this order during a downturn, they needed the volume and they agreed on that particular price. They kept on serving the client for 6 years at the same price, whereas their own domestic price was going higher. So practically the 12% of the business was happening at 2% loss.
Okay.
So you feel that you are getting the payment, but practically you are on loss. So unless you look at the data, it's very difficult to segment how things are moving. That's why it is very critical to be realistic and be with numbers now.
So it's something like when you don't practically look into what is happening in the papers and things. Otherwise, it will look like a bubble. Like
Overall
right.
numbers are good.
Yes. Okay. That's fine. So, if any company want to have such kind of importance in their chain and things and all, why can't they have an internal team? How it will be effective if instead of keeping an internal team and taking service from you as a third party, so is it how cost effective it is, and also like how much resources is included, and also the transparency?
Fair. Very important question. Let me clarify certain things. We are primarily only the enablers. Okay. Ultimately, the decision has to be taken by company only. So what we do is that we facilitate this communication. Okay, I'll give an example. I'll give you two examples rather. Okay, in one of the company which is growing, they are growing at 30% year on year. The company is started by father. The son is running it now. There are seniors in the organization who are elder than this son. Okay. So when he goes and he starts talking about data, they go and tell him that tu kya bata rahe? We are there in the organization even when you are not even born, right? So these people, it's very difficult for them to ask them to do something different, right? So people like us can come and facilitate that particular change. That is primarily the role that we do. Ultimately, the data input has to be done by the team, analysis has to be done by the team, the interpretation also has to be done by the team. We are only the facilitators who come and facilitate this data accuracy first, analysis part, and how they can look at various ways on interpretation. Ultimately, the interpretation and decision is always with the business. This is one case. In another case, wherein a very large company, when I was working with them and we wanted to discuss, I was with the promoter's daughter. One of the senior executives came and she said, "Nee, this is too much of a data. I'm not sure if we need to give it to somebody, and how do we need to look at it?" While the reservations are absolutely fine, right? He was not even capable of understanding the fact that within any particular ERP system, there are enough controls for the data from finance not to be seen by other departments. While loyalty is amazing, but if the individual is not able to change and you find it very difficult to make them change, it's always advisable to have a third party who can come in and help them understand the things in the right way without you spoiling the relationships in the organization.
Okay.
That's a facilitation we do.
Okay, great. So, to keep a transparency, and since it's all internal data about a business to be shared for a third party, so what kind of steps you take it forward to, in terms of any agreements, or how you process this to make sure that they are in safe hands?
Great point. We primarily start with first step is our own NDA with the client. So we sign a formal NDA with client so that we don't have any access to their data. Wherever it is required, only that particular data we would access from their systems. Or if shared with us, then that is destroyed at the end of the project. So we have our very clear data governance policy as an organization. That's point one. The second point, when we do the process analysis, we also do a detailed check on who has the access to which kind of data and why they need that access. So we do a proper segregation of duties and ensure that within organization only a specific set of people have this access. The third part, which is very important today, is in terms of the data security. A lot of companies conventionally created their own infrastructure and wanted to look at keeping the things with themselves, right? That was the idea. But look at the current set of attacks. It is, to be very honest, just a matter of time before any organization gets attacked. That is how the things are. So practically for an individual organization, it is very difficult to have the right set of security in place, in addition to the backups in place, and also everything that you need. So what we recommend is that they can look at cloud in a way, because cloud lot of comes with one level of security along with some backup options which are available, and we definitely get all the endpoints in any organization secured. Endpoint security is something we are very particular about. We get it done. The biggest protection against a cyber threat is your own team. So one of the most important things that you need to follow is a continuous education. Your team needs to be told practically every alternate week on what are the precautions that they need to do. So we design programs wherein we do awareness at one point in time, and then the refresher trainings throughout, so that people are aware that they need to be very careful about opening things like an attachment or looking at some links that come to you or QR codes come to you. There are a lot of people who do those sessions. So we keep on sharing those insights with our clients so that their team is completely aware on what are the things that they need to be careful about.
Okay, that sounds great and promising, basically. So, how does this works for overseas? So, if you are like when you're comparing to India and GCC or in UAE markets, so how do you think that for here for the manufacturing units or for the distribution units, you can be able to like play a big role? So, I want to know more about that.
My limited understanding of this particular market is that this market is evolving, and this market is evolving very fast. So we do see very substantial traction in terms of number of companies that have opened here, the manufacturing focus that we are looking at. So this market is a very, very evolving market, and the situation is very dynamic. And the another great part is that we have some amazing success stories here as well. Companies that have grown, the new initiatives that we can look at. We were just looking at the number of households that they were sold. That itself tells that there is a huge traction which is building, right? People are looking at future in this region. Now, how the organizations would change to this, right? Conventionally, a lot of companies here bought some customized softwares. Right? And once you have that customized software, you get attached to that one particular partner. One of the shifts that we see primarily is that the companies who are into that particular trap need to come out and start looking at standardized software which can help them get more insights on their business. That is one transition. Secondly, the companies who have acquired a lot of data right now need to start leveraging power of AI. Now the power of AI comes with a very big challenge that we have ChatGPTs and perplexities of the world, but the moment you start using that, your data goes out, and that is something which is a huge security risk. So what we have done is we have created a native LLM, a system which can come and work within their own environment, access all the data and give them all the business insight without any data getting shared outside. So that's the second level of maturity we would see. And companies who are coming in early stage, I believe that they are the ones who need to start coming with the right set of systems now. It is for this kind of a market wherein all the costs are going out and everything is very sensitive and is making more and more competitive. Unless you have the real-time data for you to take decision, it is not possible for you to survive and compete here. So it's important for you to start moving from a intuition-based decision making to a data-driven decision making.
Okay, that sounds interesting then. So since we are talking about GCC, so what are the major mistakes do you think that the companies are making? And although it's not making a big loss now, but how, as an industry expert, what do you predict that if they continue neglecting this part of thing, how much loss they can make it? Or neglecting this, how much it will cost them?
The cost in certain cases has always been even up to some of the Canadian chains or even in European chains closing down because they failed to remain competitive. what I sense in this particular market is there are so many companies who are coming in.
Okay.
Everybody is focusing on this market. They want to come in. They will come in with that real-time data, and they will keep on evolving their strategies to meet this market. Are you ready for your own evolution? The biggest threat to the existing companies here is the newcomers who are going to come in with a differentiated business model.
Okay.
So unless you're in India, if you look at right now, while we talk about DMart as a one good success story, but a lot of other things like Moore and all failed, or even Future Group failed to get the distribution game right. Right. So similar things can happen here as well. I'm not a pundit to commit the or predict the future, but if you really look at logically how it is happening, or just to give some global stats, the average life of any organization in say S&P 500 used to be about 36 years at one point in time. It has now come to just about 12 years. So we see that the largest of the companies are failing. Right. So if those have failed, or Kodak is the classic example which is discussed all the time, right? So if those kind of companies have failed, I believe it will not be wise for anyone to say that I'm not going to fail, or I'm too large to fail. If you are too large, probably the chances of you failing are even bigger. Even IBM had to go through a very painful transition for them to change. So the choice that you have right now is whether you want to get into that highly competitive mode, get under stress and then change, or you proactively start changing now so that you remain ahead of that particular curve and you are able to cope up with this increasing competition very comfortably.
Okay. So since in this market, like we can see that pharma and many type of clothing or many type of chemicals and things and all, like the distribution chains, which is morely higher in terms of. So if any specific such type of industries, you want to give an advice that if they implement such kind of things in their business, it can yield something far more better what they are currently having. Any generic thing you can tell us about that?
I'll only share how people have succeeded. I think those are the better examples to look at this. If you look at any real-time buying application or online stores particularly, what you would experience is that the moment you look at one particular tool, you would see or one particular product, you would see very similar product along with coming every point in time, right? That history is getting captured, and that is how people are looking at how things are changing real time. So for the companies who are operating here right now, I believe that one of the important things that they need to look for is that how youngsters are buying. I believe that this is also a thriving population wherein a lot of youngsters are making those decisions now, and youngsters have a very different way of making decisions compared to how it happened. Like in case of my parents, they use the same set of brands for last 40-45 years, right? But in case of youngsters, they want to try different things. They want to look at very different things. They have very different priorities in life, and they have a lot more knowledge and a willingness to try something different. So for this younger generation which is getting into market, unless you are able to understand what their trends are and you align your product range to that those particular trends, you would always remain out of sync. And currently getting out of sync for 1 or 2 seasons can be very, very difficult because others are there to capture. Everybody is in this market, right? So even one particular season would be very difficult for all the brands. So it's very important for them to be proactive in terms of understanding how everyone is doing and then start building their range for that.
Okay. So since it's 2025, so from this question itself, I want to ask another question, which is like it's 2025 and we are moving towards more development in terms of digitally AI and things and all, which have we usually now asking a lot of questions to AI tools and things and all. So do you think that any AI tool can replace this part of thing as of you, and if some tool is coming up which can replace your part of work, so do you think that still you will have that scope to work on it and still you can be the best to provide some solution on this?
We are already incorporating a lot of AI tools to facilitate our work.
Okay.
I'll give a very simple example. One of the tools that we have done right now is practically able to solve almost 80% of the L1 queries that usually come in these simple tools. Because if it's a AI which is available to the entire organization in real time, people across the globe 24/7 by 365 can ask their question and they get a help in real time. only the complicated questions get diverted to technical team.
Okay.
What happens in this case is technical team has to work only on the priority cases and not on everything else. The other thing that happens is by default we have stopped the telephone calls, right? So
Okay.
that you don't need to go and call directly. You first try and find the answer. Only if it is not getting answered, then only you come and talk to the technical team. So productivity of technical team has increased substantially. The queries are getting sorted in real time. And we also know what are the challenges that the users are facing now. So that thing also is getting addressed. So we are very keen on building the technology in our own business. The second thing that we are also doing is the documentation part. Lot of things when you go and create the requirement documents or specifications, we are also trying to automate this part. Certain technical support things which can be automated are also getting automated in real time using AI. So we are one of the early adopters of AI, and we want to automate few things which are there, and we want to bring intelligence into those particular parts so that a lot of real-time queries get sorted, because these are all evolving models all the time. So we will keep on using these models to change. I believe a lot of repetitive and non-value-added activities is something that AI would be very easily able to replace with some real-time correction. The difference between any kind of a process automation and AI is the intelligence that you will bring in on the top of it, right? So process automation has already reduced this particular part. AI will bring in more intelligence on the top of that and still do that. Certain things like working with the owner to understand what their vision is, what their perspective is, what kind of people that you are dealing with, working with them on empathy, these are the things that would remain with us. And we will probably remain relevant more from that particular perspective, whereas a lot of activities would definitely get automated in next 3 to 5 years.
So, and also I would like to add one more thing in this, which is like accountability. I guess if we are using an AI in future for this particular thing, if any tool also comes up which people can think that this can replace you, but still it's a tool which can be handled by a human, and that a lot of ups and downs might happen, but it doesn't takes any accountability. But since if they take over on you, that but you will take an accountability to like what you have promised. I guess that's a good differentiation between you and acquiring a tool itself interesting and going, I guess.
That's a great point, and there is a huge debate happening across the AI world on this topic as to what is the accountability on what has to happen. For example, if you have a paid version of ChatGPT compared to you're using a standard version of GPT, then the answers to the same question could be a bit different, because then it is also you don't really know in terms of monetizing what is the relevance of your data, how it's coming in, is the person able to understand the question in the correct way. So these are certain things which are open. I certainly believe that things will evolve over a period of time, but that human intervention would always be there to understand, to contextualize. I don't really see any way in at least near future for any tool to contextualize the human feelings or the human behavior. It would keep on evolving over a period of time, but it still has some time to reach there.
Okay, got it. Very well answered, I guess, for this one. So it's clear. And so moving on to the next question, as a common person, like if a company is there which is a distribution, or again it can be a manufacturing unit, so till how many branches, if they are neglecting this, what might be happening, like much of loss or things we can be able to handle it at control, until how many branches they are going for, they have to take it more seriously on this part, you think?
Okay. Ideal case scenario, when you are creating your first setup itself, you create a standard model and a system which you can go and directly replicate in multiple parts. So ideally, right from your first setup only, you should create a system which you can go and replicate. So if your plan is that you want to say create 10 stores or 5 stores across this entire region, you first, when in your first store, you standardize everything. You create a proper system and let the other stores become just the replica with the same system.
Okay.
What happens is, in this case, the second store is actually a process-driven store compared to people-driven store. Usually when you get into the first store, there are people who come with those feeling, with attachment this particular part, and they create a very different customer experience, and everything goes right because they know everything and they're old in system. But when you go to the next store, if and you're not going to be able to take everyone here, right? We'll take probably 2-3 key resources from here. Then when you expand, the number of resources that you can take, the stores would always keep on limiting. So if you want to offer the same experience to everyone who is walking into those stores, it's very important for you to create a template in first store and just keep on repeating that. It's more assured way of offering your customer the same experience compared to any variation there.
Okay, got it. So in terms of Dubai, this region, so as per your expertise, like that one advice which you have to like any company who wants to start their distribution, they are yet to start. It's not the existing ones; they are yet to start and things and all. What is the first point they have to follow, and they have to without negotiating on compromising on that?
The companies who want to operate in this region need to come up with the right set of systems or processes in their business to follow the law of land. I believe that the first important thing is this is a place wherein there's a tremendous ease of doing business. All that you need in this particular part is to have the right system for you to work. That is one part. Secondly, based on certain numbers that I discussed with the entrepreneurs here, I believe that the whole cost of resources here is very different compared to the other part. So you need to then factor that whether having a system will make more sense compared to having a resource with you. So when we talk about the digital first approach, we talk about understanding, can we really automate this process, or do I really need a resource for this? So the mindset should be that if something that I can do using a system, I should do that with a system and have only set of people who are required to follow that. That ensures that you are able to replicate much faster. So your dependence on system is there. You have created a proper system which is getting replicated across various parts, and people are only coming into that system. It's a more assured way of success.
Okay. That's pretty clear. So if I want to know any specific case which you have taken and resolved, and in a specific timeline you have resolved some major issues, so what that would be?
Okay, I will give you 3 different case studies on this. The first case study is something that you would see very common here. Companies use Tally, right? They have their accounting data on Tally, and a lot of times the customer interaction happens over phone or through a chat. You go and provide one particular quotations, and then you are not getting captured. So one of the solutions that we delivered for a similar manufacturing company, what used to happen is they used to get multiple inquiries. They would do some back of envelope calculation, give a price to the client, and then 3 months down the line, the client will come back asking for what is the best rate. Now, it would be very difficult for them to even remember what was the cost calculation, because the only thing that was sent to the client was the final rate, and so back end was not known. So we created a simple cost calculator for them in Google Sheet, and created a standard template wherein based on that cost calculator, they would know what exactly the cost for that particular product is and what they have quoted. So any point in time, any client calls, they would simply open that particular Google Sheet, they know exactly what was the cost and what they have quoted. So they know the margin, and they started getting a very exact idea on this part. A very simple implication on this part. The second thing that we did is, once this particular order is received, we created a bill of material in Tally. So product gets created, the bill of material gets credited, and within Tally itself, the consumption is booked. So at every point in time, you exactly know what is your inventory, what is the cost that you have booked, and how much the cost that you have recovered in your product compared to what your expenses are. So you know your monthly profitability month on month. So that is something that has happened with Tally, very simple part. The other thing which is very dominant in this space is projects, or the construction part. Now construction comes along with its own challenges, because the people who are there on site have limited capability. While everybody is good with the phone, the moment you start asking them to look at any application or write something, they start creating with excuse. So for one of such contracting companies, we implemented a very specific project related tool. Now in this part, the application work directly on mobile. So the moment any particular material is received, they just need to take a photo, upload, and along with that, they could enter the data with a voice command, which is far easier for anybody to do. Even if you understand the basic English, you can just put in the data, and that data will automatically gets into the head office. So that is one way of looking at. So project management, a simple mobile application with back-end work. But in larger companies, when we looked at who wanted to go and work, build a full assessment of what are the kind of processes that they need to, what is the level of manufacturing that they require, what are the complications in material planning or production stages in their business, and based on that we recommended SAP Business One or SAP Cloud or SAP Business Suite it is called right now. So we have done at every level. Fundamental is very clear. Whatever is required for your business has to be implemented. So there are two concepts that I like to bring in here. The first concept is what is the total cost of ownership. Okay, so when you are implementing a system, the cost of licenses that you need, the hardware that you need, or the subscription cost, the people that you would need to maintain for keeping that particular software or system alive, and also your multiple subscription, your security is all that is your total cost of ownership. Now you calculate this total cost of ownership for say 3 years or 5 years, and then compare that with what you would term as a return on your investment. How would the returns would come? Returns would come in terms of the sale, the revenue that you can increase, the cost that you can go down, or more turnaround or working capital rotation that you can do. Either of these three things happening will tell you exactly what is your return. And based on this return, then you decide what is the system that you need. That's how you balance it out. And once all these numbers are clear for you, then you can keep on monitoring this to ensure that you get the returns that you have planned.
Okay, got it. So, as per your experience, look, what other industries you think that need to be more focus on such type of things, even manufacturing or distribution, something else when it is industry focused, like it can be a food manufacturing or a chemical manufacturing, it can be like that, which needs more attention on this in further going in 2025, 2026, you believe that globally it needs more attention towards this?
Globally, there are some very interesting trends which are happening currently. One is on the sustainability, the carbon credit, which is happening, right? There is a lot of changes which are happening into healthcare as well. So these are also the industries that are getting deeply impacted by how things are moving, like robotic surgeries and things are very common right now. Healthcare records is one area which is big time look at it. Fintech in India is a huge industry which is moving. So all of them are moving towards part. Conventional industries, I think, need to be more, any kind of manufacturing or trading, need to be more proactive towards their data management now. Because data is the key. So we have been all talking about data is new oil for years together. But now this is the time when people have already started extracting from that oil. So people who had the crude have started converting and making dollars out of their data. So it is high time that all organizations start doing that now.
Okay, that's clear. So then I have one more question, which is something like, is it really going to be difficult and commercially it's going to be very expensive if somebody is trying to set up such of a team internally?
Okay, if you want to build everything internally, then the cost would be very high. So my recommendation to everyone is that please go with the standard platforms. Because once the moment you go with the standard platform, there are certain use cases that come automatically. There are certain built-in dashboards, everything which are available to you. So those implementation costs are easier. You don't really get married to only one particular partner, because in case of implementation partner, to be very precise, because what I have seen is that a lot of times, unless if you get attached or if there is a lot of customization that you end up doing, in that case over a period of time system starts getting more and more complicated, and these implementation guys then start taking you for a ride. So keep a standard platform. All these standard platform, particularly open source tools, like say if you look at ERP Next or Odoo, or even platforms like Zoho, are very very cost effective. So start using on that part. They give you very good result. Only when you need a certain level of complication that you build it, then go to the next level.
Okay. Got it. It's pretty clear. Okay. So moving on to again in terms of case studies and things and all, some companies which can be neglecting totally. So how much percentage of revenue it have hit because of this negligence, as per your experience dealing with certain companies in terms of this? Even though some companies take over such specialist in-house, take service from you, but still not implement the whole idea what you are proposing. So that also still make loss, right?
Agree. So just having the idea does not really make that particular part. You go and implement.
True.
But I have also seen that certain companies don't really follow up. You start with the work, you get the system implemented, but they don't follow up on this particular part. And always there are some challenges that happen. So I have seen huge frauds happening. I have seen people taking different rights within the system. Like say, when you talk about segregation of duties, you talk about somebody who's making the purchase orders does not have the right to make payments. But we have seen certain cases wherein those rights were shared, and then people have made a lot of money out of this particular part, given the contracts to wrong people, taken some commissions or taken some money out of this part. So all these things happen. So it's very important that you start with the right system, and it is very continuously measured. One of the things which is already happening in India right now is that all the auditors are also now required to ensure that system cannot be touched at the back end, and you have all the logs for the changes. That is one of the things which is happening. I believe it is happening everywhere around. The international regulations like GDPR or other compliances, when we talk about, they're also building more and more checks to ensure that things are not going in that way. So if you want to grow internationally from here, because this is the base to go global, it's important for you to start with all those practices now.
Okay. So how long this process would go? So for example, you are taking care of a company and you have sorted all those issues and things and all. So still the company have to constantly be with you, and you will be there for the whole journey, or how does exactly the time frame we are looking at?
Certain implementations get completed even within a month also. The larger system implementation take anywhere between around 2 to 4 months. Pure play large implementations like SAP and all take somewhere around 6 months. But that is the implementation cycle that happens. Whenever we work with the mid-sized client, what we do is that along with the implementation, we take a hypercare period for about 3 months. Because once people, so we talk about the 21-day cycle, right? People need to get used to it. Now, I'll share one very specific example here that would give an insight. This is one of the largest FMCG companies in India, primarily consumer goods company. And they had Oracle, and they had a plant which was in a very Hindi heartland. All Hindi speaking nice people, but they were not able to implement system there. And they said that this is something, these guys are not good enough, they will never use the system. I went there for audit. I realized that people knew exactly what they had, but there were certain technical challenges that the central team was not able to address. So we engaged over there, we brought in a specific consultant, changed the system, and then we got the new system rolling. When the change happened, I stayed with them for a week to ensure that things are happening on daily basis. Then I traveled there every week for next 3 weeks to ensure that things are moving. Then subsequently we started taking the discussion only once in a month. And within next 4 months they were absolutely on their own. And they are using the system absolutely comfortable now. So it depends on what you need. You just need to ensure that somebody is watching them. That things are happening, that automatically, so that works. And if that's an external part, so usually there is a bit of seriousness around it. So that's the only part.
So this after the service, so you will be providing any trainings on the internal team to how to handle it and things and all, or how basically?
So we get the core team involved right from the business blueprinting itself. So whenever I start the work on Digit Framework itself, the entire process definition or challenges part, we get the core team involved. It's very important for us that they are involved, because ultimately they need to own the things, right? So they are involved throughout. The entire user testing is done by this team. Then there is a training which is given before going live, and during this hypercare period we monitor what are the specific challenges that they are doing. So it's a weekly review call with the implementation partner to sort out all things that they have done, and subsequently for another 2 or 3 months then we have this monthly call for follow-up. Usually within first 6 months everything gets sorted. And subsequently only the additional changes that come into this part, the usual operational queries get sorted within first 6 months.
So it's pretty crystal clear for me. So for the audience, for GCC, mainly for Dubai people, so you want to add any valuable points that by watching this, they should take the things more seriously?
I sincerely believe that this is the land of opportunities, and it is only going to get better. So the real opportunity right now for you is to build all the brands that you have created, take them globally. And for you to take all those brands globally, it's important for you to start making real-time data-driven decisions compared to your intuitive decisions. It's very important. The world is operating in a very different way. We have a lot of geopolitical things happening around. So different things get impacted in a different way across the world now. So it's very important for us to be in present, to live with the data compared to our intuitions. All the entrepreneurs do have that intuition and the way to make it happen.
Okay.
I respect that particular part. But when it comes to operation, start getting into data, start leveraging the power of AI, and this place is only going to get better.
Okay, that's great. So we have come to an end of the podcast today. So here for UAE business owners who are into distribution and manufacturing, if you are neglecting these things in your operations and in your daily systems operations and things and all, and if you want somebody to help on this with an hand-on experience who have had a decade of experience on such type of companies in many part of places. So if you want somebody to connect with you, so the only person you have to connect with is Mr. Charudatta Pande. So after this podcast, we will be sharing all the details about him, his website and his social channels where you can connect with him and take his services. Of course, he is in UAE and you can definitely take his services for UAE, and if your companies are located in any GCC or in India as well. So thank you for being today here. We have discussed about a lot of important points which we don't know basically, even we have 3 branches and things and all, but we have never thought of such things are also more important and things and all. Although it's a service providing things, but on terms of products as well, we have never thought that this is a this much important thing to go ahead and focus on it. But I had a very good idea today about what you do and things and all, and I'm very happy to have this detailed conversation with you today.
Thank you so much for this opportunity and everyone listening to this particular podcast. Just a story that to be shared. We just happened to run into a BNI meeting yesterday, and when she made her presentation, I realized the passion that comes behind this particular podcast and the work that she does. So don't only look at this particular podcast. If you want to do anything on social media, you know whom to reach out to. Thank you.
Thank you. That's so nice of you. Thank you so much. Thank you.